right. Well, we got almost 30 minutes, but for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Dan Venteicher. I graduated from here in 2009. Seems like a long time ago, but I guess compared to some other people in the room, it really isn't that long ago. I currently farm 3 miles west of here. My brother and I formed an LLC, and we bought our family farm. We milk 160 cows, raise a few acres, and I got married 2 years ago, and my wife farms with us and takes care of our calves. So that's where I'm at now, personally, but I guess I'm here to talk to you about why you should get involved. I'm going to put a plug in for FFA and kind of talk about where I came from when I used to sit in this classroom like some of you. I haven't done any speaking for a while, so forgive me if I look down. I made some notes here today. I don't do this as much as I used to. But I'm going to try to break this up into 3 sections today. For the first 3 minutes, I'll talk about FFA, why I think it is a great organization, and why I think it is something that everyone should be a part of. For the next section, I want to talk about some reasons why you should get involved in any organization, whether it's FFA, FBLA, 4-H, National Honor Society, or speech, whatever interests you. And after that, if you guys have some questions, I have some incentives up here for people who want to ask questions. But first off, talking about FFA. Who here can actually tell me what FFA stands for? Like I said, I have candy for whoever answers.
Future Farmers of America.
It's actually a trick question. It still stands for Future Farmers of America, but that's not what the organization goes by anymore. It's just National FFA Organization. The reason they made that change, which was back in 88, was they wanted to promote a culture where they didn't feel like only farmers could join the organization. In fact, as of last year, over 1/3 of the general demographic of the National FFA lives in cities. Now, the other 2/3, not all of those live on farms. They're classified as rural or farm areas. So you don't have to be a farmer. You don't have to want to be a farmer specifically to join FFA. The big thing about FFA and why it's important for young people to get involved is it is probably the best student-led organization to jumpstart you into a career. Now, like I said, you don't have to be a farmer to want to join, but ag is the #1 employer in the world. The whole field of agriculture is the #1 employer above all other industries. Technology, Apple, Samsung, agriculture employs more people than all those technologies. So if you want to get active or get involved and look at what you're going to do with your career in the future, FFA is probably the best organization to join to get involved in that. And it's important not to look at just the chapter of EDCO and however many members you guys have or how active you guys are, because once you start getting active, you can be as active as you want to be. You can't rely on Mr. Wadsworth or another person in your chapter to make you active. You're going to be as involved and you're going to get as much out of it as you put into it. That's the important thing to remember. What made me actually get involved kind of goes counterintuitive to what I said. I wanted to be a farmer, which is why I joined. That was before I had a full understanding of the whole organization. But in 7th grade, they used to do a junior high chapter here for those 2 years, so I joined and didn't do very much in 8th grade, but once I got into high school is once I got a lot more active. Throughout high school, I stayed very active. There's some stuff up here from when I was in high school on the walls. My brother and I did a lot of different CD events, and I had the opportunity to run for chapter office, run for district officer. My most memorable experiences came from when I ran for state officer. Through those experiences, they allowed me to go to Washington, D.C. 6 times. I got to do a lot of different things out there, National Ag Day. We got to tour the White House and Capitol a few different times. Never got to meet anybody really high up in the government, but it was still cool to be in the same places that they were at. Got to go to China as a result of it. FFA didn't take me to China, it's important to know, but the people I met invited me to go there. So it wasn't through an FFA trip, but I was able to make a lot of different friends and meet a lot of new colleagues who I was able to experience a lot of different trips with. Probably my most memorable experience actually came when I was 2 years out of FFA. So I was a junior in college, but because of the connections I had made, I got asked from a Pioneer representative to go to Washington, D.C., mainly because they couldn't find anybody else to go, and I was their last resort. Got to fly on a private jet to Washington, D.C. and back, which was a lot of fun. So the demographic of FFA, which this is my plug for why I really enjoy this organization and why I think it's probably one of the most popular ones across the nation. There's 580,000 members nationwide. So if you think about that sheer number of students, that many people find it that successful and that enjoyable. There's 13,000 in Iowa alone. 45% of the whole National FFA organization are women, gentlemen. And over 50% of those women actually hold over 50% of the leadership positions are held by women. So it's not just for the ag guys and the farmers. Like I said earlier, I really want to reiterate, ag is the nation's and the world's #1 employer. So if you're looking for a job that's always going to be around and you want to pick a career field that isn't likely to go away, ag is going to be your best bet. Yeah, that's my plug about FFA. Now, the next thing I want to talk to you guys about, and the reason why I think it's important to get involved in any organization, regardless of whether or not it's FFA or FBLA, is there's 3 things that will be decided in your life, whether or not you decide them or not. There will be 3 things that usually between the ages of 18 and 25. So I know pretty much all of you are a little ways away from that yet. But it doesn't mean you can't start thinking about it now, or if you're fortunate enough, figure out what they are right now. But an old nutritionist friend of mine shared these with me, and they've always stuck with me. You can remember these as the 3 M's: master, mission, and mate. The master portion of it is probably the most significant. And what I mean by that, and we'll use a synonym for master, we'll use the word ruler, or master or ruler. Now, what this means is what motivates you, what compels you, what drives you to get up every day, what makes you want to get out of bed or do the things you do. Everybody has one of these. Whether or not you know it, whether or not you even know what it is, or whether or not you want to know what it is. Everybody has a master. Now, for an example, the most popular one, more than likely, is money. That's a huge motivator for why people do what they do. If you are only concerned about money, you're going to look for jobs that give you money. You're going to look for people that have money. That is probably the most common ruler or master of people. Now, whether or not that's good or bad is up to you or the individual themselves to find out. That's something for you to think about, what you want your master to be. Other examples are fame, being in the spotlight. A lot of people just want to be that person who's always in attention. Or success, however you define success. Maybe for some people success is having a lot of money or always being in the spotlight. That's a lot of people's ruler. And I can't tell you what your master should be. That's up to you to figure out. But how you figure that out is not by waking up, going to school, doing your homework, going home. Education's a great thing, don't get me wrong. You need to go to school. You need to excel at school, math and English and reading and arts. You need to do well at those things. But those aren't guaranteed to help figure out what your master is. The only way to do that is to get active, get involved. Now, that doesn't mean FFA is going to figure it out. That doesn't say you have to go to college. You have to join a club. That means you have to get moving. You have to get out of your routine of playing video games, being complacent. Go out and do an internship, do a shadowship, an apprenticeship, follow somebody. Just, you need to have experiences. That's the only way you figure out what it is that you like, don't like, what do you want to live for? What's going to drive you to get up every day? This is the most important part. It really is. Because whatever you pick for that is going to control you the rest of your life. And a lot of people who are over the age of 25 still don't know that. They're still trying to figure out what it is that drives them, what it is that makes them get up every day. The next thing, mission. And you can also use a synonym like purpose for this part, your mission or your purpose. This is really going to be career orientated. And this is very related to what your master or your ruler is going to be. Because, let's say, for you, money, wealth is your master. You're going to want to pick a career that coincides with that. So you're going to have to do a little bit of extra effort to try to make that your goal. And this is where, in my opinion, FFA plays a huge role. FFA really gives you, my personal belief, the most experiences if you put your work into it. It'll take you more places than any other student-led organization, any organization in the whole high school. if you're willing to put the work into it. It's not just going to give them to you. You have to strive to do well. But again, that is just going to jumpstart you into so many different career opportunities. And your mission or your purpose, to me, is second behind your master. They're very closely related. But this is really focusing on your career, what your purpose is going to be, what you're going to do with the rest of your life. And the last thing, mate. You can kind of figure out what that one is, who you're going to spend the rest of your life with. And it's probably easiest if you figure out those first two things first, master and mission, before you try figuring out who your spouse is going to be. You don't have to do them in that order, but another shameless plug for FFA is it's probably the largest high school dating organization in the whole world. Many of my friends have met their spouses through FFA, whether it was in high school or college or state convention or national convention. Through FFA, through different ways, that's how I met my wife. And I think really that's the order that I would like you guys to remember those things in, is master, mission, mate. That's the way, that's the best way for you guys to figure out what you're going to do with the rest of your life. And you can't do that if you don't get involved in something. And like I said, obviously I'm really biased towards FFA. But I'm not saying if you don't get involved in FFA, well, then you're screwed. You need to get involved in FBLA sports. I mean, playing football, basketball, wrestling, and doing well in those can get you places. But when you start, unless you're really, really good at football or basketball, and you want to start looking at things that are going to carry you outside of high school, to me, FFA is going to be one of the best ones for that, for what's going to get you into college and beyond. And I'm also not saying that college is what's going to make you the most successful or find out what your 3 M's are. I have a lot of friends who, right when they were out of high school, they used the connections they had made in FFA, and they went right into the workforce. And they have less debt, more money, and by society standards are probably classified as more successful than many of my friends who are currently in college. So you can't listen to what society tells you is successful. Or somebody isn't going to tell you what your master or ruler should be. It's not up to them, it's up to you. And I think at the current stage in your life, I'd be very surprised if any of you knew all 3 of those, let alone just one of them. I think it's important that throughout the rest of your high school career and throughout the rest of your time and involvement that you think about those things. You don't have to figure them out right now. So most commonly, I think most people figure it out between the ages of 18 and 25. But again, the worst thing you can do for your future is nothing. It's going home, being complacent. I have nothing against video games. I enjoy video games. But if that's where the bulk of your free time is spent, the rest of your life isn't going to be the worst thing in the world, but you could have made it a lot easier by just getting involved in some kind of organization. Let me see how much time I got left. About 10 minutes, a little more. Now, I asked Mrs. Ehlers, and she said she was going to talk to Mr. Wadsworth, about getting some questions put together. Would that happen okay? Do we have any questions prepared? If not, I can keep talking.
I do. Obviously, you're very successful out, now. What are some things you did after high school that you're involved in even now? Some of those organizations. Are you a member of the Farm Bureau?
Okay, sure. Yeah, I am a member of the Farm Bureau. To be quite honest, I actually didn't do very much right when I got out of college. FFA took up my whole college career almost. My freshman and sophomore year, I did state vice president my freshman year and state president my sophomore year. And then my junior and senior year were kind of catch-up. I didn't take very many credits my first 2 years because I was a little bit preoccupied. Then after I got out of college, I kind of wanted to let the dust settle and try to figure out what my 3 M's were. And just get everything, I wouldn't say totally in order because you're never going to have your life totally together. It's naive to think you're going to wait to do stuff until you get your life totally put together because it's never going to happen. But right out of college, I took it a little easy. I just worked on our family farm. And just recently here, within the last 6 months, I actually got active in the Farm Bureau. Somebody came and asked me to be on come to their board meetings, and I've been doing that. I'm really looking forward to getting involved in that organization. My wife and I are going to be joining Farm Bureau and being active in those. But as for any other organizations, as I'm sure some of you in this room know the life of a dairy farmer, it's a little bit tied now, and it's kind of hard for us to get away for long periods of times. But I think the Farm Bureau will probably be the most the organization will put the most effort into right now. We do have future endeavors to want to do some lobbying at the state or nation's capital through Farm Bureau, but we're just going to take it one step at a time right now.
Do any of you guys have any questions?
I have 3 Reese's peanut butter cups left, so somebody please ask some questions.
What'd you go to college for, and then why?
Dairy science. And why?
Yeah.
Well, let me back up. I actually started going to college for ag education. I wanted to be an ag teacher. I did that for the first semester of my freshman year. And FFA made me realize that was a path I thought I wanted to take. And it's not that I wouldn't have enjoyed it, or it's not that anything was wrong with that particular path. But as I said during the last 20 minutes here, getting active and getting involved and getting out and doing other stuff reaffirmed my desires that I actually wanted to come back home and farm. Getting out, seeing other things made me realize how much I missed just working, getting up early, going to bed late. And so I started at ag education. Half a semester later, I switched to dairy science. The reason for that is I wanted to go back home to the dairy farm. To be perfectly honest, I went to Iowa State for dairy science, but that was only because that was kind of our central headquarters for FFA. If I could have done it differently, not that I would have, but knowing what I know now, I think it would have been a really neat experience to go out and work on other dairy farms first. There's a few dairies out like on the East Coast where they milk anywhere from 500 to 1,000 cows, and they're always looking for students to employ for like a year to 2 years at a time. It's almost like a college, so to speak. And I would have loved to have done that. But as I said earlier, I was a little tied down with FFA. I don't regret any decisions I made. But looking back, that would have been something like that would have been some neat experiences to do. Mike, can you catch? I don't know if I can throw. Yes.
How long have you been in FFA?
Well, back when I was in 7th grade, EDCO I know they did a little pilot program. They tried doing junior high. Do they do that now? You don't know? And I don't know why they didn't continue it. We had a swap of ag teachers at that time, so maybe that's why I switched. So technically I joined in 7th grade, and they didn't really do much 8th grade. We had a different ag teacher. But typically once you join as a freshman in high school, you get to stay until your 3rd national convention after you graduate. So technically you're a member until you're roughly 21 years of age, kind of depending what time of the year you were born, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess I was in FFA from 2003 to probably 10 years, 9-10 years, something like that. I only have one of these left, but that doesn't mean you guys can't keep asking questions right here.
Like, what other clubs were you in when you were in high school? And
I did football my freshman year, and I didn't the rest of my high school career because I was the perfect size for nothing. I was too small to be a guard, too short to be a receiver, and I couldn't run worth a darn. But I tried football. I also did. I tried speech. I did, like I said, there's nothing against trying stuff and quitting it. One of my pet peeves is when people kind of get harsh on other people for trying stuff and then that person quits. And how are you supposed to know unless you try it? So I tried football, didn't really like that. I tried speech. That just didn't coincide very well with my schedule for FFA. Junior high I did wrestling and I won 3 matches, so I didn't continue that. The other thing I really enjoyed in my high school career when I was a senior is Mr. Nielsen, who was our English teacher and football coach at the time. He asked me to come on board with the football crew and just help manage different aspects of it, going to different away games, doing stuff with pep rallies, homecoming. That was a lot of fun. That wasn't really a club, so to speak, but that was just helping to organize stuff with the football team. So that was fun. Other questions? Saw some other hands up at one point. Yes.
So if you join FFA, this won't take away any of your college time, right? Like if you wanted to go in college and just join FFA.
You mean like if you're in college and high school or after high school?
After high school.
No. And really, once you graduate, if you don't run for a state office, after you graduate high school, you don't have to do anything, and there's nothing that's really going to tie you down. There are things you can still do out of high school. You could still fill out a proficiency award or get an Iowa degree or an American degree. Those are very prestigious honors in FFA that take a lot of work to get. But if you don't want to be tied down after you graduate high school, you sure don't have to be. But there are collegiate clubs too in college. So Iowa State has a CFFA, and it's only Iowa State students. They don't really do what you do in high school, but they'll go and help out at district judging events or sub-district judging events. They're just kind of a giant volunteer group for the high school organization. They just help high schools do different things.
What do you do in like FFA in high school that made you like it so much? Or like what was the things you did?
Well, honestly, when I was in high school, I just wanted to get more points than everybody else. I was a little bit, I wouldn't say prideful about it, but that was just my goal. And actually, all the stuff I did actually is on those white things on the wall. I did meets. I never got anywhere in any of the judging contests. I wasn't very good at those. But I judged meats, livestock, dairy. I didn't get much into the CDEs in the fall, but there's ones in the spring, the speaking contests. I guess obviously those are the ones I did a little bit better at. I did public speaking, which is one of the ones I did better at. You get to pick a topic of your choosing. They have to approve it, but you get to pick an ag topic. It's usually an ag issue, and I think it's 8 to 10 minutes. You have to give a presentation on it, and you're judged by a panel of judges. That was probably one of my more favorite speaking events. But I did all of them just to try them and just to be active. I didn't really like sitting around being complacent. And I didn't do very good at any of them, but it didn't really bother me. It was still fun. What else? What other questions are there? I don't have any recess.
Can you still recite the creed?
Can I still recite the creed? If I could, I don't think you guys would want me to hear it. I believe in the future of agriculture, with faith born not of words but of deeds.
Achievements.
Achievements won by
Present and past
generations of agriculturists.
In the promise,
The promise of better days through better ways, even as the better things we now enjoy have come to us through the struggles of former years. First paragraph. I can't do anything else.
I believe that to live and work on a good farm or to be engaged in other agricultural
It's
pursuits
pleasant as well
is
as challenging.
challenging.
I can finish your sentences. I don't get you start them. What other questions are there? I really like your guys' questions. We got a little bit of time. We got 3 minutes. 2 more questions. Somebody. Sure, Mike will share his Reese's cup. Nope, he ate it all. How many of you are in FFA? Cool. How many of the rest of you are going to join FFA? All right. What do I have to say to get the rest of you to join FFA?